Unfolding a model. Kumu partial views rock. I create a lot of models in Kumu, which is probably an understatement. And rather than simply send the models to other people and sort of inflict them on them, I typically create a presentation for the model that unfolds it as a story. And then I do a video voiceover which actually explains that unfolding, so someone doesn't have to figure out what the actual meaningful parts of the model are from my perspective. They can simply watch the model unfold, like watching a movie, and have me describe the model as it unfolds. So I've been doing that for quite some time. And when partial views were first introduced, my response was, what do I need those for? And I don't know how long ago they were actually introduced, but it was quite some time. And then last week I saw a demo of partial views used in a model, and it clicked. And after having used them for a few days, I have found out that I have a preference for using partial views than creating presentations. The reason being the flexibility. While I can create a presentation from a model and unfold it as a story in very short order, I could unfold this model as a presentation in less than 5 minutes. I've probably modified this model a half a dozen times, and modifying the presentation to reflect the changes in the model is a pain. I've come to the conclusion that modifying partial views is actually much easier. So the way that I'm going to show 3 examples, 3 different models that I used partial views in, and in the notes section of this video there's a context link that will get you to a place where you can access all of these models, each of which has its own video explaining what the model is. But in terms of using partial views, in this one, I wanted to unfold this loop by loop from one loop to the next. So what I did was, in each one of the loops, I put a tag so that this one is B1 and this one is B2 and this is R3. And then when I created the script, I wrote this @view, @settings, showcase, and this is a blank, and I'll show you why I do this in a moment. Here's the partial view for B1, here's B1 and B2 together, here's R3, R4, and the actual code for doing the view is very short. I want the control at the bottom, and I want a view toggle as dots. These are these dots across the bottom, and I'm not sure that I even need this statement at all. You can when you access these projects, you can look at the scripts to see specifically how this was done. So I can now start here and start without anything showing and say, okay, here's a goal-seeking loop, and I can describe that, and then I can describe the balancing loop that is also part of that structure, and then I can talk about this loop and this loop. And the way that I typically have done it is I'll go ahead and close this tab on the side. I'll go zoom to fit, which usually makes it too large. So zoom to fit, zoom out, zoom in, which usually gets it just about the right size. And I'll start without anything showing. And from there, I'll go ahead and unfold the loops. Trying to get a presentation title slide over the top of this, because I usually expand it so only the black portion shows in the video, and I'll show you in a moment how I managed to accommodate that. So here's where I start, and then I can go ahead and unfold this. And what makes it really nice is that you can go back anytime that you need to, and you can do things in whatever order that you want to. And there are little crib notes on them, if you include them, that tells you what the dots are actually for. Now, in this model, which is a model I've been working on about group model building, I wanted to unfold it connection by connection, because there aren't any particular loops in it. So what I did was I affixed tags to the individual connections. None of the elements have any tags on them because they're unnecessary. If you display a connection, it has to display the elements on both ends of the connection. You can't show an element and a connection without what's on the other end of the connection. So if you look at the script for this one, you see that it talks about A, B, C, D, till it gets down here and does E and F. So if I unfold this, I start without showing anything, and then I talk about this relationship, then I talk about this relationship, I talk about the groups and collaborators and issues, I talk about the parking lot, then I talk about working on the model, and I talk about processing the feedback, and I can then go ahead and describe that in that order. For the third one, I needed to do something a little bit different in that if you look at the panel for the element here, you notice there's a rather extended text associated with it. And when I unfolded this, I wanted to show the image, and I didn't want to have to show all of this text, but I didn't want to lose the text itself. So what I did was I modified the popover script so that it uses an image and a brief, and that image is this image that's part of the default properties of every entity, and went ahead, and to be able to get this image on the internal image, what I did was when I was editing the profile, I imported the image, and then I took this link from Amazon and pasted it into this image link so that the image appearing here and here are the same. And what this gives me then is that when I unfold this, and I also included a new element called brief, which is meant to be a one-statement description to go along with the image, the most prevalent aspect of that particular image. And that way, when I mouse over it, you see the image, which comes from the little image portion here, the image, followed by the text that's in brief. So you get that. Now, when I unfold this, if I go close this, go back and do a zoom to fit, zoom out, zoom in, and then start, it's a little, push it up a little. Start here. If I mouse over and show this, that's fine, but if there's a question about the additional information associated with it, I can click on it and hit the tab key, and it will open the profile page. And the tab key will then close it. Now, note that this is an aspect of the profile page that isn't, I haven't seen it defined anywhere, in that when you're first looking at the project, you can close this profile page by simply hitting the tab key. If you do that, anytime you click on an entity, it will show you that profile page. But if you explicitly close the profile page by clicking the dots, it will not show the profile page when you click on an element, but you can get to it with the tab key quite readily. So that solved my problem of how to display images associated with the elements of a model, though the part that I still hadn't quite figured out was, how do I do this as a presentation and put a title slide on it? The difficulty being that I want to start presenting this model without anything really showing. And if you create a presentation, you can't get back to the title page. So what I actually did was I created a presentation that actually has two title pages in it, so that here is the initial primary title page, this is another slide title. It's another slide called title slide. Has the same primary and secondary title to it, and I can get back to that, and here is the slide for the project itself. So once I go ahead and publish that, get out of here, and look at the presentation, if I start the presentation, I can then go to the third slide, click this, dim all this stuff, go back to this point, and now I've got the title for the presentation, because I can't get back to the main title page. But here I have the title that I want to use, and when I go forward, I have the whole thing dimmed the way that I want it. I can walk through it, and when I mouse over it, I get a bigger image with that brief statement. And if I want to show more of it, I can click on it up, because I forgot to close it this way. So if I go here, if I then go to the next piece and I mouse over it, I get the image in this. And if I want to see the overall description, I can click on it, hit the tab key, and that will open. And there might be a more extensive description, there might be references, who knows what might be on the page, but I sort of get the best of both worlds. And I also I said there's a context link in the notes section of the video. There is for every one of the videos that I do these days. And that context link will take you to a place where you can access the projects, the videos, and I would encourage, whatever I need to do, to get you to actually access the projects and make comments on them if you have a Kumu username and password. If you don't, you can go to kumu.io and get one for free. And you can comment on any element or any connection that's part of any model that's public. All you have to do is click on it, and then there's a little icon here that says comment, and by clicking on that, you will initiate an issues thread on that particular element. And why does this model start here? And create issue so that you can then close this. Close this down here. And notice that there is now an asterisk on this particular element. Any entity within the model, whether it's an element, a connection, or a loop, can have an issue thread associated with it. And you can tell if there is an issue thread because it will have an asterisk on it. And if you click the asterisk, it will open that issue thread so that you can go ahead and add an additional comment to that issue thread. So hope you found this meaningful. I have been just delighted at how this sorted out over the last week. So take care, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.